The French Empire was one of the most powerful empires in history, spanning across multiple continents and lasting for centuries. Its origins can be traced back to the 16th century, when France began to establish colonies in the Americas, Africa, and Asia. The first French colony was established in 1534, when Jacques Cartier claimed what is now Canada for France. Over the next few centuries, France continued to expand its colonial holdings, establishing colonies in the Caribbean, India, and Southeast Asia. One of the most significant events in the history of the French Empire was the French Revolution, which began in 1789. The revolution led to the overthrow of the monarchy and the establishment of a republic, which eventually led to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. Under Napoleon's leadership, France became the dominant power in Europe, with its empire stretching from Spain to Russia. However, Napoleon's ambitions eventually led to his downfall, and the French Empire began to decline. Despite its decline, the French Empire continued to play a significant role in world affairs throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries. France was a major colonial power, with holdings in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. It also played a key role in the two world wars, with French soldiers fighting on the front lines. Today, the French Empire no longer exists, but its legacy can still be seen in the many countries that were once part of the empire. French culture, language, and traditions continue to influence these countries, and the impact of the French Empire can still be felt around the world. The second segment of the history of the French Empire begins in the late 19th century, when France began to experience a period of renewed colonial expansion. This period, known as the New Imperialism, saw France establish new colonies in Africa and Southeast Asia. One of the most significant events of this period was the scramble for Africa, which saw European powers, including France, compete for control of the continent. France established colonies in West Africa, including Senegal, Guinea, and Ivory Coast, as well as in Central Africa, including Chad and the Congo. In Southeast Asia, France established colonies in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, which together formed French Indochina. French Indochina became a major source of wealth for France, with its rubber and rice exports helping to fuel the French economy. However, the French Empire was not without its challenges. In the early 20th century, nationalist movements began to emerge in many of France's colonies, with people calling for independence and self-rule. These movements would eventually lead to the dissolution of the French Empire. One of the most significant events in the decline of the French Empire was the First Indochina War, which began in 1946. The war saw Vietnamese nationalists, led by Ho Chi Minh, fight against French colonial forces. The war ended in 1954 with the defeat of the French and the establishment of an independent Vietnam. Despite its decline, the French Empire left a lasting impact on the world. French culture, language, and traditions continue to be celebrated around the world, and the legacy of the French Empire can still be seen in the many countries that were once part of the empire. The third segment of the history of the French Empire begins in the aftermath of World War II, when France began to decolonize its empire. This process was driven by a combination of factors, including rising nationalist movements in France's colonies, as well as pressure from other countries, such as the United States. One of the first colonies to gain independence was Vietnam, which had been the site of a long and bloody war between French colonial forces and Vietnamese nationalists. In 1954, the Geneva Accords were signed, which ended the war and established an independent Vietnam. Over the next few decades, France would continue to decolonize its empire, with many of its African colonies gaining independence in the 1960s and 1970s. However, the process was not always peaceful, and many of these countries experienced political instability and violence in the years following their independence. Despite the challenges of decolonization, France continued to play a significant role in world affairs. It was a founding member of the European Union, and played a key role in the development of the European project. It also remained a major military power, with French troops participating in conflicts around the world. Today, France is a modern, democratic country with a rich cultural heritage and a strong economy. Its legacy as a colonial power is complex, and continues to be the subject of debate and discussion. However, the impact of the French Empire can still be seen in the many countries that were once part of the empire, and in the cultural and linguistic influence that France continues to exert around the world.